Assalamu alaikum, family, peace, healing, and light, and welcome back to another episode of Healing with Angelica's podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And of course, if you are new to the show, welcome, beautiful souls. On today's broadcast, we have a special guest joining us today, my personal holistic doctor, my good brother, Dr. Akilli Muhammad, as we'll be discussing today's topic, Black women in the medical apartheid system in America. Dr. Akilli, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, my sister. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yes, sir. It is a pleasure to have you on the show again. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And for those who don't know who you are, do you mind letting our audience know more about you?
Well, let me keep it brief so we have a good conversation. I am a traditionally American trained physician, so I went to medical school like most of your doctors in the emergency room, family practice offices, urgent care centers. But a few years into practice, I was really disenfranchised because I didn't feel like I was serving Black people like I had always envisioned.
Mhm.
Prescribing medications and sending you for this procedure and sending you to this specialist wasn't what I saw myself doing. I saw myself spending time with people and helping people reverse problems and moving into a direction of healing. And that was my transition. It was approximately 2003, 2004. I was frustrated in my office one day, went home, started reading How to Eat to Live, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad challenged me to my core with that book. And I had to start questioning everything that I was doing.
Mhm.
And in that questioning, in that transition, it was very difficult. It was very tough to know that I'd spent so many years studying things that weren't effective. I was studying things and I had become excellent in a system that fed me with propaganda to do what their bidding was. But praise be to Allah. Today, I can say that How to Eat to Live has helped me understand how to sit, listen, and formulate a way so that people can get on a journey to healing if they choose, because it does take work. And so I am the Ultimate Wellness Group now. And of course, I pray that this grows into a wonderful collage of many different healthcare practitioners that think similar to me, so that our people have a true choice. If your desire is to be lazy and to think in a way that doesn't really make sense and think that you can misuse your body, not treat it correctly, not take care of it correctly, and
Mhm.
develop problems after 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and you think a pill is going to solve that, then, I'm not the person for you. But if you're ready to work, if you're ready to learn, if you're ready to empower yourself and put in that work that it takes to have good health, then reach out to the Ultimate Wellness Group so we can start this healing or health journey. And again, thank you, my sister, for a wonderful platform.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So beautiful. So grateful to have you. So grateful that you were a big part of my healing journey. When I say Dr. Akili, oh my gosh. Every time I think about how my healing journey started, I think about you because you played a big part. Allah used you to assist me
Yes, ma'am.
in my healing journey, and I just been thriving ever since. So I'm so grateful for you and for you to make that decision to want to actually put in How to Eat to Live and go away with just the standard medical, with how we typically treat ourselves and go to a natural route. So our
Yes, ma'am.
praises due to
You put
Allah.
in the work, my sister. So I still got to put something back on you. You put in the work.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. And I really wanted it.
Yes.
So that matters. Like you have to really want it. And Dr. Achilles is not the one to be playing with. If you gotta really want it, if you want to deal with him and really get, the assistance you need. So Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
let's get started on today's well needed topic. Black women in the medical apartheid system in America. And please, for my audience today, do not, and like I always said, this is your opportunity to ask your questions, especially with this topic. Do not hesitate to put any questions you may have for our guest, my brother, Dr. Akilli Muhammad, in the comment box below. So, this topic is something that has been weighing on my heart for a very long time, as medical apartheid has been only getting worse, more so amongst the Black community and especially amongst the Black women. And for those who don't know what medical apartheid is, I was introduced to it from author Harriet A. Washington, who wrote the book Medical Apartheid, in which it discussed a history of medical experimentations on African American from the era of slavery to the present day. This book presents the first detailed account of Black Americans' abuse as unwitting subjects of medical experimentation. Today, we will be discussing more so as how Black women are a part of medical discrimination in America. And that brings me to my first question for you, Dr. Akilli. What do you believe is the reason as to why Black women are targeted the most when it comes to medical apartheid in America?
Wow, that's a powerful question. Let me first say, for anybody that doesn't necessarily know what the word apartheid is, it's just a more fancy word of racism. It's really segregation based on race. So if we look at the medical field and apply that, then when you walk into a hospital, when you walk into a physician's office, urgent care center, emergency room, the reality is you're walking into a facility where white supremacist mind is in effect, regardless of the skin color of the person. And that's a very serious statement. And many people don't understand that statement, but I live that statement. The 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 the, the education, and let me put that in quotations, the education in the medical system has its benefits. There are many things that I can hear, there are many things that I can see, and there are many things that I can figure out with my hands that I would not have been able to do if I didn't go through the years of education that I did go through. The problem is the aspect of propaganda, the aspect of medicine where they train us and they guide us in a direction, and they didn't allow us to use our minds to make that decision. For instance, a medication. If you come to me and there's a problem with your body and it's showing up when I check your blood pressure, it's showing up when I check your sugars, it's showing up when I evaluate you and your pregnancy, well, that is a problem that occurred by some lack in the human body, because Allah made these bodies perfect. There's nothing that goes wrong with these bodies when we take care of them as
Mhm.
they should be taken care of. And so it's a pretty I would say it's a trivial answer for somebody to come to you and present to you a problem that took 20, 30 years to develop, and you give them a pill. That's very trivial. It
Mhm.
doesn't address that person's cares, concerns, what they've been going through, what they are going through. It just totally eliminates that. And that is that system. That system used propaganda to make us think that that was the right thing to do. That's the benevolent thing to do. That's the good feeling that you want to help take care of people. That's what you're. No, you're not.
Mhm.
You're causing more problems. But those of us that really had that desire to be a doctor, we didn't have the ability to look at it like I'm looking at it now. I'm looking back on my medical education. When I was 21 years old in medical school, hell, I was on fire. I'm in the process of becoming what I wanted to be all of my life. So it was easy for a person to trick me at 21 years old, 22 years old. My parents didn't have the ability to set me up to question the Rothschilds and their overtaking of the medical industry. They didn't know.
Mhm.
And so here it is, as a 20-year-old young man, 21-year-old young man, I'm like geeked. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is the best education ever. I'm about to get out here and do some things with this. And that was the problem. After I went out there and started to try to do things with this, I wound up running into a wall. Like, man, I cannot see that this is what I went to medical school for. I didn't spend all this money and all this time to do this. No. And so that's the foundation of why Black women are mistreated. And the reality is why Black women most, because Black women is the gateway to maintaining that Black mind, the Black person that wants to go out and make the world better. And in the current world that we live in, those that run this world are in fear of the Black mind coming out pro-Black, coming out revolutionary, come out not satisfied with what my people are going through, nor am I satisfied with myself being comfortable, right? I heard this post today. This brother was talking about his anger at himself for becoming comfortable. He said that he always told himself that he wasn't going to become comfortable, but he looked at his life and was like, damn, I became comfortable. And now I have to uproot this comfortable tree. And that, in Brother Dr. Akilli's opinion, is what the problem is with Black people.
Yes.
You're comfortable going to a damn hospital. You're comfortable going to a doctor's office. You're comfortable going to an urgent care center, a medical emergency facility, and you haven't thought about these things enough before you wind up in that situation. You wind up in a situation, you have put your total life in somebody's hands that you don't know if you can trust. Right? I literally had somebody I was talking to yesterday, and they said they were so happy that they got a chance to sit down and talk about their medical problems with me, because they didn't feel like the doctor that they went to prior even cared. They didn't even feel like the person listened to them. They felt like the person half listened, attention was somewhere else. But by the time this person hadn't even finished talking, they were already having a prescription written. Now, that's the reality of this medical system. And if you take yourself into that Black woman, the queen of all, the origination of all people, every single person on this planet can be traced back to a Black woman. I mean, that's not arguable. That is a truth. That is the truth, right? And so if that is the truth, and it is, then how can a Black woman be such at a high risk of dying giving birth? How can a Black woman be at such a high risk of losing her child in something that she is made to do? That thought right there, to me, is a profound thought that all of us with Black skin have to start considering. How is it that a Black woman, and the greatest thing that she can do, and if there's any woman that has a problem with, the Black woman has a problem with that statement, just think about that statement for a minute. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Harriet Tubman, then Mark Vesey, Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman, that I mentioned already. Yeah, I said her right. Fannie Lou Hamer. I mean, we can go down the line of great people. Many of you have great people that have been in your life that I don't know. They don't have famous names that everybody knows, but they've been totally influential in your life and making you a better person, a greater person. You know you wouldn't be who you are without them. Well, every single one of these people came out of a woman. That's how great a Black woman is. That every single person on the planet, great, or even if they have this false perception that they're minuscule. No, everybody has a greatness. Some of us just aren't putting the time into to produce it. But every person came from a woman, and every woman can trace her reality back to a Black woman. That's the only genetic and scientific reality. And so that is Brother Dr. Akilli's personal viewpoint, which I think is based on a lot of actual facts that I have witnessed in this medical field, studied in this medical field, that the Black woman is under attack because she's going to produce and is producing Black men and Black women that are going to destroy this system of white supremacy and put us back into a place where we can be at peace. And lastly, I'll say this: I would not be able to stand sit as I'm doing, but I'm standing with these 10 toes. I wouldn't be able to stand and speak as I am speaking if it wasn't for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I speak all the time about how great that book, How to Eat to Live, is, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote. But it would be remiss on my duty if I didn't say that the lectures of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan helped me understand that book. So when I speak about, well, let me say, when I speak, how I speak, which is with strength, which is with no compromise, which is the reality that happens when you find truth and you stand on it and you're serious about it and you study it, you can stand and speak like this. But I have to give the credit to those two men. The book Medical Apartheid freed me from the lie that the medical system that I had such reverence for needed reverence. It needs to be critiqued. And that's what Harriet Washington did in Medical Apartheid. And it's my personal viewpoint that if you Black people that are listening to this, if you would read that book, you would understand that everything that I'm saying is actual facts and can't be disputed.
Whew, praise be to Allah. Oh my gosh, when you were talking, you had brought up the fact of how we trust the medical system with a lot of things. And I actually did a video about that before, about how we put all of our trust in the medical system, even with the littlest things, and we don't even trust, honestly, our own people, let alone the people.
Yes.
Let alone we trust the people that never cared about us.
That's right.
So I really stand on the principle of knowing yourself. If it wasn't for, because prior in 2016, I think I spoke about this before, everyone know that I had went through a situation where I lost a child. I had a stillborn at the time. I truly believe it was due to not having the lack of care, because a lot of things could have been done differently.
Mm-hmm.
However, from that experience, it went into my next pregnancy with my son now. And from that, I ended up having a whole bunch of fear just about going to the hospital, about having another baby. What if this son died?
Yes.
What if I died? You know, it was so much trauma that accumulated from the experience that I had with my first child passing away and what happened in that process. So from this period now, with me having my son and me going through that transitioning, and also just things that I went through after the pregnancy, I realized that I didn't know nothing about pregnancy at that time when I got pregnant. I didn't know nothing about pregnancy. So the things that they were telling me, I agreed to, like, okay, because I'm trusting them enough to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I trusted them enough to know that, okay,
Yes.
they're going to make sure that my child is safe.
Yes.
And within a 3-day time period, my son passed away. And for me, he was perfectly fine. I didn't understand, and they could not give me an explanation as to why he passed away. So I truly stand on the fact of women, especially women, obtaining the knowledge of self, knowing who you are, knowing your value, knowing your importance, and also just getting knowledge of just pregnancy, childbearing, and what you're in, because like you said, like I just said, we give all our trust to these hospitals that is not really meant for our good.
That's right.
You know, so that actually brings me to my next question for you. Why is it absolutely vital that women must obtain a knowledge of self and their body in protecting themselves against medical discrimination in America?
You know, I say all the time that in a true system that cares about its people, the true education system, the word educate, it comes from a Latin word educare, which means to make better. That means this person is formulating a, a fund of knowledge to be able to be better, to be able to show and be able to apply their gifts. So let's just think about that for a minute. If that is true, and it is, how could a 19, 20, 25, 30-year-old person not know anything about their health? What does that say about the society that you live in? What does that say about your parents? Not knocking them, but hell, they came from the same reality, right? If I look at my father, my grandfather on my father's side and my grandfather on my mother's side, both of them were sharecroppers. What should I expect from a system of slavery that was to completely destroy Black people? What should I expect to have learned from my grandfathers? I learned a lot of great things from them, but I didn't learn how to take care of finances. I didn't learn how to be a good husband. I didn't learn how to be a good physician. I didn't learn anything about how to take care of my body from them. So we lack basics when it comes to so-called education in this country. So to me, that's the foundational problem. That should be obvious to all of us, that this government and the systems that they have put in place don't give a damn about us. That's number one. Number two, we always have to go back to God. Why is there a scripture in the Bible that says, my people suffer for the lack of knowledge? And that's where most of us stop, but that ain't what the whole scripture means. It says after that, and also because you reject knowledge. Well, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have been here for a long time, 93 years. And many of us, I'm using this as an example because I just left something on Sunday. We went to a memorial service, and there were many people that I went to school with in medical school. There were many doctors, many dentists, many other professional people in the room. And to a person that I knew personally, they came up and they gave me credit for what it is that I do, what I post, the things that I say, the fact that they can look at me and say, damn, you look good. You look almost as good as you were when we were at Meharry. I didn't say that back to them because they don't. They fat, they sick, they look like they're about to die right there in front of me. And some of them, I'm sure, have taken the vaccine. Now, I'm not trying to put anybody down. My only point is that my colleagues that are physicians, they wouldn't be giving me those type of compliments if it wasn't legitimate. Because to give me that compliment is basically marking yourself as a person who doesn't look and evaluate somebody that's doing something more effective than you, and you start changing your life because you got a good example. All praise is due to Allah and the men that I just been mentioning. I'm not taking credit for any of this because I was along that same line. If it wasn't for these teachings, I would have been a fat, probably hungover, smoking doctor in that room with the rest of them on my way to death. And so at the end of the day, we have to understand that many of you don't know anything about what happens in the backdrop of a hospital or a medical office, right? I was in medical school, as I just finished telling you. I watched people cheat through their way through school. I saw people pay their way through school. I saw people have sex through their way. This is not me making anything up. And it was worse at white schools. There were people. I went to Meharry Medical College, the best Black medical school on the planet, the best medical school on the planet. I had people that I was in school with that had friends at other schools around the country. And the cheating and the paying and having sex for grades was astronomically higher than our school. So that's the first reality, is that you have many doctors out here that don't know a damn thing. They did not bust their behind in school. They found a way to get out and make it easy. They had parents who had money. They had parents who had stuff set up for them. They probably wouldn't even care. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I knew when we had to spend all night long studying. Many times I would study till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Got to be in class at 7. That was a regular role for years. But I knew there was going to come a time where I needed that information, where I was going to have to explain things, where I was going to have to make sure people understood what was going on with them so we could find a way for you to come out of this reality. That wasn't the mind frame of many people that I know. So there's one aspect why you can't trust them. The second aspect that you can't trust them, as I just finished saying, is that this whole system has been taken over by the Rothschilds' mind.
Mm.
So you may not know that when you go and see the black woman, Dr. Johnson, or the black man, Dr. Jackson, dentist, physician, whatever they are, their mind has been consumed by the Rothschilds' idea.
Mm.
And that's why you can listen. Well, I should say I can. Sometimes the average person can't, but I can listen to a physician, regardless of their color, and I can tell what their perspective is. For instance, I dropped something on my IG the other day. There was this black woman that was talking about Tori Bowie, the one that the Olympic athlete that died in childbirth.
Mm.
She said, in an answer, a question was asked to her: should black women fear having babies in the hospital? Her statement was, I am a member of the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Automatically, when you hear a black person say that, that's the mind of Rothschilds. I'm just telling you all. If you hear a pediatrician say the Pediatrician Society, if you hear a family medicine doctor say the American Family Practice Association, you're listening to people that are bought and sold by a system. They don't question the system. They don't question their reality in the system. And they don't read books like Medical Apartheid. They don't read books that will challenge everything that you went through. And that's what happened. It's painful to challenge everything that you studied for years. And then you say, okay, I can piecemeal that piece out there and I can use that. But that right there, that's garbage. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody whose total self-esteem and self-confidence is tied up in what they do every day wants to go down that challenging road. But in my personal viewpoint, Allah did that to me. God put me on that road because I wasn't supposed to stay in that system. I wasn't supposed to be like everybody else. I ain't never been like everybody else. Going along to get along and being in the same reality as everybody else does not make you what your gift was supposed to make you. You're suppressing your gift to try to fit in for what? A house, a car, some clothes, some clout. That's going to end pretty soon, as your life is going to end pretty soon. So to me, that's the first. I think those are the foundational reasons that black women and black people should not trust the system. And then the obvious evident thing in my viewpoint is just to slow down for a minute and think about your reality, your life. You buried your grandmama and she was taking all the pills they gave her for 5, 10, 20, 30 years. You buried your granddaddy, your aunt, your uncle, your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, your cousins, whoever, and they have never improved taking the medication that people have given them. How can you trust a system that has your people going back every 3 months to get a refill? A doctor's telling them, oh, yeah, you're healthy. How in the hell can you be healthy and you got diabetes? How in the hell can you be healthy and you got high blood pressure? How in the hell can you be healthy and you just had a stroke? How can you be healthy and you can't even walk across the doggone street without losing your breath? How can you be healthy when you're not even confident? You shuffle to step up on a curb. And when you were 20, you would jump and flip and do black flips onto a curb. See, we don't have anything that we can scientifically address, scientifically evaluate, scientifically take in consideration and say that we should even trust the system. It's been lying to us since the day they lied to us and say we were welcome. Now, those of you who are maybe have a little problem with what I'm saying, go back and talk to some of the older people in your family. Black people couldn't go to white people's hospitals in the 50s. Started a little bit in the 60s. By the 70s is when we were really allowed to start coming into their facilities. Go do some research on the CDC website and look at when black people's health started to deteriorate in this country. When we were allowed to leave slavery, because that's really what happened. There was no abolishment of slavery. That's a lie. When we were allowed to leave the ravages of slavery, they were already in the mind frame of producing something to pull us right back in. That's what Jim Crow is. But my point is that when we left slavery, our lifespan went up. And in the 1970s, our lifespan started going back down. 1970s in general is where we started getting accepted into their medical facilities. That's a lot of information to prove to you that we can't trust their system. You can like the way I say it or not, but if you evaluate what I just finished saying and do your own research, you'll come to the same conclusion. No doubt.
Praise be to Allah. And honestly, it's at a point where it's like, it's not about if you like what you hear or not, it's the truth.
Praise be to the Lord.
So we have to make sure that, we stand on truth. And I mean, I don't see how many times we need to be consistently proven that this system has
That's
no regard to our lives at all. So praise be to Allah. And if you are enjoying this episode just as well as I am, please, please, please show your support by donating today to Cash App $ Healing with Angelica to help sustain future episodes just like this. And also, if you all are enjoying all of the broadcasts here on Closing the Gap Broadcast Network, please show your support as well by donating today. Information to donate will be shown on the screen below shortly. I love you all. Now let's get back to today's episode, Black Women in the Medical Apartheid System in America with Dr. Akilli Muhammad. So, Dr. Akilli, we kind of got into my next question, but I want to target the Black women or pregnant women or women that are, wanting to be pregnant. Could you please explain why hospitals are not safe when it comes to giving birth and why home birthing is the best option?
Wow, that's like the most important question in my life right now. So let me just point out for those who may not know and those who do know, maybe just a reminder, but Black women have been giving birth to Black children for trillions of years. Yes, trillions. If you think that this earth is 6,000 plus years old or anything near there, your mind has been captured by white supremacy. There is a museum tour that's going all around the world where they have a young lady named Lucy who is 4 million years old, and she had an umbilical cord. So that's just proof that anybody that talks that the earth is 6,000 or 100,000, a few 100,000 years old, that the conflicting information proves that you're a liar. So I'm just using that to supplant the idea that we as Black people have been around for a long time, meaning that Black women have been giving birth and haven't had any problems doing that because we've never had the statistics like we have now. In slavery, we weren't losing as many children or mothers as we are now. Obviously, something is wrong with where we are going and the information that we're using. So if we can all agree that giving birth to a child is something that a woman's body is made to do easily, that doesn't mean that there's not pain involved. Even in small children, when you watch them grow, we say what? That sometimes they have growing pains. Well, it's not that the process of growing is hard. There may be a difficulty factor in it, but it's an easy process to watch a child grow. All they got to do is eat and keep living. So a woman has the ability to give birth to a child easily. Yes, there's pain involved because it's a serious process of getting that child out of the womb into this environment. But understand the point that it's not something that's difficult for a woman's body to handle. Why are we losing so many women? Why are we losing so many babies? Because that easy process has been overtaken by the minds of Rothschild. What do I mean? If you have an OBGYN doctor that works at a hospital, they are under a mandate. They're under a protocol that your mother giving birth to this child can't stay in that labor and delivery room all day and all night. You can't stay in that surgery suite all day and all night. Sometimes that's the process of delivering a child. In this day and time, when women are not eating correctly, they don't know how to take care of their bodies correctly, they're not drinking enough water, they don't exercise during their pregnancy, and they they are concerned about the pain. So you automatically take out one of the processes that helps to process. It's the pain that helps the process move through. Your hips and your ligaments are opening up. That shouldn't feel good. If any of you have ever played sports and you've twisted a little something or done something, you know that doesn't feel good. So when a woman's pelvic region is starting to loosen up, that shouldn't be something that feels good. We should expect there to be some discomfort. But when you take that Rothschild's mind and that doctor that's in the hospital, my schedule is important. This is the honest, true story. When my son was brought into this world through a C-section, the doctor that did the C-section called me and my ex-wife about a week before, because my ex-wife had a C-section with the first child, so she wasn't the type of doctor that would try a vaginal birth after C-section. So she automatically said that was going to be it. She called us a week ahead of time, changed the date that we were going to do the C-section because she was leaving town. That's the way many of your doctors are making decisions for you. I want to go home and have dinner with my husband tonight. Okay, let's get him in at 2:00 because even if I have to do a C-section, I'll be done by 8. I'm just being honest with you.
Yes, it's
and
true.
If you think about the reality of how great this experience should be for you, how happy, how peaceful this experience should be for you, that this child is now coming into the same environment that you are. Nobody should be making a decision on some BS like that and put your child in your life online because they're trying to rush you through it. Turn the Pitocin up. Let's get these contractions going. That ain't the way it's supposed to happen. That's not God. We have to stop and slow down and start evaluating everything in our life based on God. Why did God make contractions? Why did God make the baby's head come down first and then start to rotate and then the shoulders come out? Why did God make that process happen? Why did God make the process happen that if your child is upside down and breech, that's not going to be a good idea? So at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, the hospital, the urgent care center, the emergency care centers. Well, let me leave those alone. I'm gonna just talk about the hospital because we're talking about Black women. That's not made for your benefit. That's made to make money. So you are a money bag when you go to a hospital. Now, what's the difference in having your child at home with a midwife and or a doula? You set the parameters. You decide what the lights are going to be like. You decide what room you're going to have your child in. You decide the music that's going to be played. You make the decisions. You get to take as long as you want to. That's your house. How peaceful would that be? I know my home is one of the most peaceful places that I love nature, but my home is probably second to being out in nature as far as peace for me.
Yes.
Now, what will be a better place for you to bring your child into the world? You ain't got to worry about nobody doing nothing wrong to your child. You ain't got to worry about nobody trying to run up and put a needle in them and give them some poison. You don't have to worry about somebody having a bad day and they're going to take that on your child. You don't have to worry about anybody taking your child from the vagina and putting it directly on that mother's chest, which is exactly where a child should be, not on some metal thing over there that's cold and you start wiping them down. That can happen later. Let that child bond with his mother. That's the way God made things happen. How do you know that, Akilli? Study nature. What other animal on the planet Earth has somebody take their child after they deliver? No, that child is delivered. And usually that mother will lay next to that child or start licking that child because there's an interaction that has to happen immediately with that mother. Nobody else, just that mother. And that's why in many cases, including myself, there's a spiritual disconnect from God.
Yes.
And there's also a coldness to your own mother and coldness to people because your mother wasn't allowed to do the God-given realities that brings you comfort, that immediately takes away insecurity. Now think about this. You in a bag of water with an umbilical cord, with these loving thoughts that have been going into your being for 9 months. It can't be secure to be pulled out of that environment. So the birthing process is a process that produces insecurity in a child.
Ooh.
So when you take that child after they come out of that environment and put them directly on the one that was giving them the comforting thoughts, insecurity starts to go away. I have evaluated myself. Many people say that I'm very confident, I'm very strong, I'm very this and I'm very that, but I'm insecure in some aspects of my life. And I am absolutely sure it's because when I went back and did my auditing, they delivered me and put me on a scale. It was cold. And I was calling for
Ooh.
my mother in my mind. And then they started wiping me down, but I was cold and I was thinking about where's my mama? Where's my mama? So that has produced an insecurity in my life that I don't know how to solve. And many of you, just by me telling that story, you might be able to go and tap back in with your reality and why you are insecure,
Yeah.
right? Because I was literally talking to a client yesterday. And I mean, like almost everything that came out of her mouth about herself was an insecure statement, was a demeaning and belittling statement to herself. She didn't do that to herself. The world did that to her.
Mm.
People did that to her. And maybe her own mother did that by not breastfeeding. So here it is that just with that short explanation, I pray that you all think it's short, but just with that explanation, you can see that the hospital could not be, not even close to being the best environment. Now, am I saying that the hospital is not necessary? No, I'm not, because there's some times where women can be so ignorant about how to take care of themselves, you get yourself into trouble and your baby is at risk for dying. So you might need to be in a hospital. But my points about the midwife and the doula and having your baby at home was for the mother that's trying to learn, that's trying to gain some information, and is trying to take care of herself to the best of her ability. And to date, wherever she is in her pregnancy, everything has gone okay. You should stay away, as far away from a hospital as you possibly can.
Ooh. I love this. Ooh, you put nail on the coffin with this one. I'm so glad I asked this question because I'm telling you, like, ooh. And you brought, and I was just thinking that in my mind, like, it reminded me of Dianetics, like, they say it starts, some Ingram starts like directly, like when you're in the womb and just things that
Yes.
you've been through, and just even that experience of having not being able to have that one-on-one connection, with the baby as soon as the baby come out. I'm telling you, like, I definitely will recommend home birth before, and even now with with the COVID situation that happened, and we're still going through the pandemic, so sort of say,
That's right.
and just how they were doing everything during the time, because I had my son during the time of the pandemic. Oh my gosh. I told these doctors that I do not give my son no vitamin K shot. When I
Yes.
say these doctors was giving me hell.
Yes.
And I was such in a I was such in a state. I wasn't even in a good state. I just gave birth. I went into labor not even knowing I was in labor. I didn't eat nothing that day. So everything happened so fast. Everything was so rushed. Now I have these doctors telling me this, telling me that. My postpartum period, when I came home, not even came home, I mean, still in a hospital, it was just like, it was not a good setting.
Yeah.
So I was still in my mind, still trying to even understand that, hey, I just had a whole baby. I'm getting all these demands, and
Yes.
them telling me what they wanted me to do with my son, and then actually they actually said something about me, what is it, child services, because I
Mm.
didn't want to breastfeed. I didn't want to supplement my son at all. I said I didn't want my son to have nothing, no nothing, you know.
Yes.
So it was really hell. I'm not gonna lie, dealing with that process, and it just made me think of just other women and how like we give our trust to these hospitals, and we really have to trust ourselves and trust our God-given ability that we can do this on our own. And I say with our tribe, our family,
Yes.
our husband, to help us bring the child into this world. So I'm so glad that you did bring that up, because that just made me think about my experience and how, oh my gosh, I am grateful that I did have a doula at that time. However, I do believe that since there has been so much going on in the minds of our women and just things that has happened in the hospital. I think it has completely scared the woman to
Absolutely.
even have babies, to even
Absolutely.
want to even do that. And that's not even, and I don't even think that should not even be the case, because
That's
we
contradictory to
need,
life. That's contradictory to black life.
yes.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's
Can I use
wild.
one more analogy?
Yes, yes.
Look, I grew up in Southern California, right? And the gang culture was crazy out there. You know, I grew up in blood territory. And of course, I mean, anywhere in a city that I would go, if I'm around a Crip area or anything like that, I was automatically insecure. I felt like, you know, something was going to happen. The first time I went to New York, that same feeling was like 10 times worse.
Mm.
Right. And I always tell people, you know, I don't like New York. I don't want to be in New York because I have this uneasy feeling that there's so much there that's different than what my environment was coming up, that I really don't have the opportunity to really protect myself. So I feel like butt naked in New York. You see what I'm saying? And I'm saying that for a very serious reason, brothers and sisters, especially sisters. This point is to the sisters. We have to, as people, but especially you black women, have to start loving and learning how to 1000% rely on those inner feelings that come from in you. That's God talking to you. When you get that thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't go to this hospital, you should turn around, because that's something that you can trust. When you walk into that hospital and you feel uneasy, you walk into a doctor's office and you just don't feel welcome. That's a God-given reality. That's a connection to the God that you serve. I don't care what the name you call them, but you have to learn how to trust that. And that's the problem, is that many of our black women are going into these systems and feel like I felt while I was in New York, but you stay. Hell, I was trying to get out of New York as fast as possible, as fast as that car could roll. I'm trying to get out of it. I'm just being honest. I did not want to be there anymore. I felt like no matter who was walking by me, something bad was about to happen. And some of you feel that way when you're in these doctor's offices, when you're in these hospitals, when you're under the care of a particular person and you're in total need. You're in a position where you can't leave because something is so bad, but you feel uneasy. You feel like, man, I'm not being treated right.
Yeah.
We have to start paying attention to that, because many times that will save your life.
Oh, wait, praise be to Allah. I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm telling you, we can talk about this all day, because I can think about just my experience, even with just what I had went through during the pregnancy. I swear I went through so much anxiety with the second pregnancy, to where I knew something was wrong though. And still, with me trying to figure out what was going on with me during the pregnancy, me going to the hospital and these doctors, they would just say, oh, it's just pregnancy symptoms. Oh, it's just this. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going crazy. Something is wrong. Something is going on.
Yes.
You know, it will be nice where I could not sleep. And I'm like, that's not normal to me, especially like just me just being pregnant. You know, like I should be able to sleep. And it wasn't until after I had my son and after I was going through the things I was going through, I had to piggyback. And I did look back at my results. I did look back at and see, that's another thing too. Just having the knowledge enough to just go back and back check these doctors and what they so-called check you on. Because what I found out is that all the stuff that I was going through in my pregnancy had a lot to do with the diet that I was consuming during that time. And also, I was lacking potassium.
Yeah.
I was lacking salt. But in my mind, I thought it was something serious, to where, oh my God, I need help, to the point that they thought I needed to be on medications for anxiety or something like that.
Right.
But that's why it's so important to know yourself, and know yourself well enough, and trust your intuition.
That's
To
facts.
know that if something is wrong and you feel it, stand on it. And that's what happened. That's what I did. So praise be to Allah. Oh my gosh, I got so many questions, but I know we're winding down on time. So, but I do have two more questions here for you.
Well, I just let you know, my sister, I blocked off 2 hours. So whatever your time frame is, you got me. All right.
Well, great. Praise be to Allah. Let's keep it rolling.
This is too important. This is too important of a subject matter, in my opinion, for us to be thinking about time constraint from my perspective, right?
No.
Many times when I
God.
do this type of show, it winds up being a 2-hour show, 2-hour plus. It's just too important. Our Black women have to have somebody that cares about them enough to not give a damn about any restraints, whether they be verbal, whether they be time. Our Black women, and I really mean this, if you have had a hysterectomy and you can't have children, this is still a subject matter that you as a Black woman should take so close, because there are going to be some young women that you know. And if you don't have some of the basic things that I talk about, you are ineffective to be able to give that young sister who's anxious as hell some type of comfort for her to go ahead down the process of producing this child. Just like you just finished talking. I was speaking with somebody just 2 days ago who is pregnant. We had a whole hour-long visit just to talk about some of the things nutrition-wise, this and that, some of the things she was doing. We just had a great meeting. And right before we were about to get off, she said, you know, I have to be honest with you, I have a lot of anxiety. And I was like, anxiety about what? She said, damn, I need to think about that for a minute. She said, you know, I think I'm anxious just about being pregnant. So that's my point. Here is something that a Black woman is made to do. You probably could do this better than anybody else. Again, look at the great people that are on the planet. Right? Yes. If there's anybody on this call right now that's thinking about their favorite rapper, that came out of a Black woman. Your favorite writer, Black woman. Your favorite movie producer, Black woman.
Yes.
Greatest politician, Black woman. You see what I'm saying? Revolutionary, Black woman. The greatest men on the planet Earth, Master Fard Muhammad, the Honorable Minister. You might not agree. That's my opinion. Black women produce all three of them. How the hell you anxious about giving birth to a child? They've done a hell of a job on our minds.
Yes.
And so I'm going to give myself a plug because I just don't know what else to do. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. A show like this is wonderful. So I pray that plenty of Black women watch this. But I believe that my shows will help Black women start to deteriorate the power that the Rothschilds' minds have on us. I believe that my shows will help Black women murder white supremacy that's going on in between their ears every day. So my shows aren't free, but I think it'll be worth you getting a subscription. So, you know, maybe we'll get the information a little later. blackstream.live/TUWG. We can repeat it, but I'm just being honest with you, sisters, and hopefully brothers too realize how important this is for us to be educated about. Because you might be standing next to your wife in a hospital one day. And if you don't have yourself together, and if your testicular fortitude ain't where it needs to be, you might wind up losing your wife or your child. Now, we'll think what your life is going to be like after that, because you didn't take the time to prepare yourself to take care of your wife or that child that she's bringing into this world. I'm just telling you what's happening. I've had people walk up in my office, cry on my shoulder because their wife nor their child made it out the hospital. I've had people cry on my shoulder, men who have their babies in their arm, but their mother didn't make it. And I've had the opposite. I've had a mother and a husband or a boyfriend and a girlfriend walk in my office and their child didn't make it. So I'm not telling you all, and I don't have this passion for nothing. I have this passion because I've seen the pain. I've dropped tears for people. When I was in not Savannah. I was in I can't remember. I was somewhere in Georgia for my wife's birthday when I found out about Tori Bowie. I've never met her. And I started crying because I was sitting there looking at the story that she died.
Yeah.
But my tears weren't only for her because she's famous. My tears were for all of those Black women that I've had in my career. My tears were for all the Black women that are going through this. And they don't have somebody to stand like I would stand. That my voice represents my strength to stand with a Black woman. If me and my wife decide not to have any more children, but I'd be damned if there's going to be something happen to my child or my wife in the hospital because of your negligence. I'll die first, and you'll be dead because I'm dead. But that's the perspective we have to start having. Now think about that. Some people might say, "Oh, he's crazy for saying that." You mean to tell me you're going to take your Black behind as a man into a hospital, and the possibility is that your wife and your child going to die, and you ain't ready to die? That's a coward. That's the way we have to think in order to stop this madness from happening. Because I don't never want no black woman or black man to come tell me about the death of somebody in a process that God made a black woman's body to do. That's almost like saying, when black people walk down the street, many of them are just falling and hitting their head on something and dying. You mean to tell me we dying at something as basic as just walking? See, that sounds crazy to people, but that's how we should be looking at this reality. Yes. And if we're not taking it like that, then we ain't seeing it for what it is yet. It's horrific. It's another travesty. It's another Holocaust on top of our Holocaust. Ain't no Holocaust in the history of the world been worse than ours. I don't give a damn who you are, where you come from, and what happened to your people. Ain't nothing touched what we've gone through. And we're still going through it today in 2023. And everybody want to look at people like me and say, why are you talking about race all the damn time? Because it's the main reason why we get murdered. And that's what's happening in these hospitals. You taking yourself into a hospital, they murdering you, whether it's out of ignorance or whether it's out of purpose or whether it's out of not paying enough attention to you. You got murdered and your child was murdered. And until we start looking at it the way Brother Akilli's talking about it, we ain't going to do nothing about it. We're going to keep talking about what's happening to them. It ain't personal enough to you yet. But watch how Allah works. Some of y'all that don't give a damn, some of y'all that are comfortable, it's going to happen to you. And then you going to decide to jump part of the team. Okay, we'll accept you. Don't know how, but we'll accept you probably.
Oh, Brother Akilli, you're being just real right now. And and this is why I was so eager to talk about this today and how my heart goes out to women that are pregnant now, that are taking themselves to the hospital to give birth to babies. Like, even with the situation I had went through with my son and me not even knowing how did he die? How did this just happen? So, sometimes Allah do have to take you through things in order for you to understand, unfortunately. However, even with me losing my child and me having a stillborn, so I actually had to go through the process of actually pushing a child out still.
Yes.
And then seeing the fact that my son isn't here, that did something to me psychologically. Having to leave the hospital without a child, so that situation is also the reason why I'm here today to talk about this, because I truly believe that situation could have went completely different. But I know that Allah is the best of planners. And I also know that at that time, me being so young, I'm still young, but I was very, very young when I had my first child and that situation happened. I didn't have the knowledge to even know what was going on or even what I was putting myself into, until I had to experience having a child again and actually being woken up and actually coming into the nation of Islam and actually accepting Allah, God, into my life, keeping that and making that spiritual connection with God to open my eyes to see what's really going on. And that's the thing, we don't want to open our eyes to see what's really, really going on. And also I want to point out the fact that I was binge watching your show when I was pregnant. So me even when I was going through my thyroid issue right after having my son, oh my God, we can talk about what I went through in that hospital all day. These doctors was coming in trying to tell me that my son gonna bleed to death if I don't give him no vitamin K shot. Gonna tell me if I don't, they was doing too much.
That's right.
But I also want to speak on the fact of, because you also brought up men, and I love just your mindset on how you brought up just the fact of, you'll die as well if your wife and your child is in this hospital. Something happened now, I'll be there before I let anything happen. That's right. And I believe that is a beautiful mindset to have, even though somebody might think it's crazy, but it's not. So I want to ask you, do you believe that Black men can help in decreasing medical discrimination against Black women? If so, how?
Absolutely. 1,000%. Yeah, you can decrease it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and everything he taught can be absolutely proven in no limited time. We can take a huge subject like this and we could prove it in a little while. And there's some things we could prove in a couple of words. But the statement that there's no such thing as a no good woman, every no good woman was made no good by a no good man, is applicable in this situation. Because some of you, I'm guilty of it too, so I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you. Some of you put your penises in women and you ain't had no good intentions from jump.
Mm.
And that's not a problem that we can only point at the man and say something negative about. The woman has a duty in not allowing somebody to put something in you when they ain't really about you. They ain't proven. You ain't earned them yet. Or you didn't make him earn you is what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
So, yeah. I was watching Corey Holcomb not too long ago speak the truth. He was speaking truth. But every time he referred to Black women, he said, use the word bitch. And I commented on the post. And I said, the Black women will start to change when we as Black men stand up and stop calling them bitches. I don't care what condition a Black woman is in. If we understand that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the truth teller, and they ain't no greater truth teller than him. And number 2 on that list is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You go find me a place where they said it was all right for you to call a Black woman a bitch. I don't give a damn what she's doing. Prostitute on the street. She's not a bitch. She was made that way. Probably started with her dumbass daddy. Who didn't know what he was doing. Most women that are in those type of conditions are destroyed. No self-esteem, no self-confidence. That's how they were made to go out and do that. It started with their father not being the correct man in their life. So there's the evidence of what I'm saying. There is no such thing as a no good woman. Every no good woman was made no good by a no good man. So if we decide that we're going to change the reality of Black women, it's because Black men are going to stand up and say, I have listened to a truth teller, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, explain to you why you need to raise your standard of when you look at a Black woman. Because as I said, there's no white person, no Hispanic person, no other ethnicity or race of person that can't trace their reality to a Black woman. How in the hell you could demeaning Black women when they're the greatest reality on the planet Earth that ever produced people? If we don't raise our thinking about a Black woman, then we'll continue to think that what Corey Holcomb said is okay. I'm not knocking Corey Holcomb. I used to use that word. I'm saying Corey Holcomb, even though he gives the minister credit, get your Black behind on YouTube and start watching some of his programs about Black women and stop using that word. And every other Black man that's doing that.
Yes.
Stop using demeaning terminology. If you say you love Black women, shut the hell up calling any of them, no matter what they doing, a bitch, a hoe. Stop using terminology like I'm about to hit it. I'm about to knock the bottom out this. I'm about to dry this coochie. You have made your Black woman the greatest mind in the history of the world, second to God himself. You've made her into a piece of meat, made her into something that you cut up. See, if we don't understand that the words that come out of your mouth is the being of your mind.
Ooh.
So when you call a Black woman a bitch, we know who you are. It's just that simple. And so, yes, we are absolutely part of the responsibility of changing this reality. That's why I said what I said before. If you are a Black man and the person that was good enough for you to lay down with, which means she's good enough for you to marry, which means she's good enough for you to stay there and be with her to raise this child, no matter what the difficulties that you all go through. I don't give a damn where you go. You lay down with her and you go to another woman and you talk about how this woman was this and that and this and that. You about to have some problems with this one too. And the next one and whatever many you go through until you get yourself right and realize that the problems you have with all these women are the same because you are the same. You're attracted to the same type of woman because you haven't grown. But when you get to a point and you stop blaming the woman and you start raising yourself to the responsibility of what Black men are supposed to do, then we'll start seeing something different in our communities. There should be no Black woman in no hospital giving birth without a Black man there. Should be the father, but if it's not the father, maybe a homie, maybe a cousin, maybe a daddy, a granddad. I don't give a damn who it is, but there needs to be a man in every room in this country for sure. In every room where a Black woman is giving birth to a child in a hospital, to make sure that she can do the best she can at taking care of this child, and you do the job of keeping these damn demons off of her, so that they don't have to go through what my sister went through. And let me tell you something, sister. I'm going to have to raise up my prayer with you in mind today, because you just like brought tears to my eyes, right? Because my first year in residency program, when I had to do my OB rotation, the person that was my superior, they were being evil, they were being mean, but they put me in the room to stay as my first case in OBGYN, to be with a Mexican woman that had to deliver stillbirth. That was one of the most horrific things I've ever experienced in my life. And I was just sitting here thinking about that happened to you. As much as it affected me, it made me want to murder somebody that day. I wanted to murder my superior that day for putting me in that situation as my first experience in a beautiful, what should be a beautiful reality, right? But for the person, like I was sitting there looking at this woman, I had lost my ability to speak Spanish at that point, but I literally was just sitting there, handling my responsibility. And I was like, man, how is this going to affect this woman? How is she ever going to be able to get past this? And that's what I was thinking about as you were telling your story, my sister. Yeah, you gotta audit that. That's difficult. That's difficult. And while I'm on that subject, Black people, if a woman loses her child, that's not something that's going to go away because you get busy. You lose a child, that's not going to go away because you have another child. That's something that we have to focus on, evaluate, and come to a place of peace with it within yourself. And so when you hear us mentioning Dianetics or auditing, that is something that the minister led us to in the Church of Scientology. Please don't get your mind all wrapped up in the foolishness that's on TV and social media. Let me speak for me. I have had tremendous gains by going to them and doing some of their technologies. I'm not a Church of Scientologist. I'm not going to join their church. They actually sent me and my wife a letter the other day. They want us to come and be part of their org. I'm not coming to be a part. I'm not coming to do. I'm a member of the Nation of Islam. It takes damn near all of my time outside of what I do. So at the end of the day, I'm just giving credit that they have a technology that could help us, because some Black people will have abortions, have miscarriages, lose a child. And then you wonder why when you 45 and you 50, you bitter as hell, because you ain't never dealt with all that pain you suffer. Yes. And I'm only talking about the birthing perspective, right? I'm talking about all the other racist pain and men treating you wrong. All of that's still in your head when you 40, 50, and 60. Well, we wonder why sometimes we go to family reunion and, auntie, whatever, is bitter as hell, cursing everybody out, drinking, and uncle too, right? We have to start doing things to get that negative stuff up out of us and having all the power that it does on us. And that to me is very appropriate for this conversation, because the women that are losing these children, the fathers that are losing their wives, the fathers that are losing their children, you have to do something about that. You can't just throw that in the back of your head and think that it's not going to have some implications in your activity, in your thinking, and your overall longevity and peace of mind. It will destroy it if you don't do something about it. It's not okay for destructive things to happen in our lives like that, and we just stay busy. Bad idea. About as bad as a Black woman going to a hospital.
Yes, Dr. Akilli.
Did I answer the question?
No, yeah, you definitely answered the question and some. So
Praise
yes,
Allah.
praise be to Allah. Yes, so when I got connected with you, that was the first time I ever heard of Dianetics, when I got connected with you. And honestly, Allah has been showing me so much ever since I just been on this journey in Islam, and also just trying to heal myself just from past trauma, past wounds and stuff like that. And I actually did get a auditing session about losing my son at that time. And honestly, what I realized is that, and this is why it's so vital to have a connection with Allah. At that time, I was so young. I was not. I I don't believe that I would have been able to give my son what I could have gave him at that time, despite the situation of how it happened. The mother that I am today with my son now, I definitely would have been that. He would have
Yeah.
been probably Similac up and junk up, all types of stuff.
Yes.
But the woman that I am now to my son now, I came to a point of actually getting peace with that situation, because I understand that everything happens for a reason. And even if and it took 6 years to me to actually wake up to understand that. So when I actually had my other child, to understand that, yes, my son Miles, that was his name at the time. But that is his name. That's his name. My son, he came in my life and he taught me a valuable lesson. And I love that. The experience wasn't a good experience, but the experience taught me so much, you know. So when I with me actually going through the process of actually losing a child, have to actually plan a funeral, actually having to go through that experience, coming home, like I used to come home and rub my stomach because it was something psychologically, because my child wasn't with me, but I thought I was still pregnant. My child didn't come home with me. So, like you said, us ignoring that, and me, I ignored it for 6 years.
Yes.
Until I end up having another child and realize, oh my gosh, I am still traumatized from losing my first child.
Yes.
So that did a lot of things to me during the pregnancy with my son now, and with me actually taking the time and getting audited, and then actually growing my connection with Allah. I truly just realized that, Allah blesses us with children, but He is the ultimate steward, and Allah gave my son Miles to me for that short period of time to allow me to grow and expand in a certain way that He wanted me to expand. So it's all about also having the right perspective and changing your perspective. And I truly appreciate you for bringing Dianetics to me, because it helped a lot. And I'm still going through the process with Dianetics, because as you stated before, with Black men, I also realized that a lot of things that I go through in regards to trust and men in general had a lot to do with my father not being in my life. It had a lot to do with that.
Yes.
So it's a lot of things that we don't realize that bothers us now, has a lot to do with things that has happened in the past, or even through childbirth, or even as you're growing up as a child. So I'm so
Every
yes.
thought, every reaction, every interaction that a woman has while she's pregnant is going into that child's mind. The first thing that is being produced in a child is the brain, spinal cord, then the heart. So many of us, sometimes we do things, we act in a certain way, we don't understand why. It was happening while you were being formulated. So that's how serious this conversation is. And that's how serious it is for us to promote How to Give Birth to a God by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which is based on the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and how he made certain parameters for our women once they get pregnant. A pregnant woman shouldn't be watching a horror movie. A pregnant woman shouldn't be watching a movie Fast and Furious or some type of, Transformers or some type of murdering story, murdering movie. That's going into your child. A mother's mind shouldn't be on abortion. The minister has already taught us that's the reason why we got murderous children. These are some beautiful children out here, but they'll pull out a doggone AK and blast somebody in a heartbeat. And some of it is because of that stuff that they were feeling and some of the stuff that was being poured into them while their mother was pregnant.
Yes.
I know some people have a hard time understanding that, but it's the truth. You'll eventually understand it if you keep studying it, because it is nothing but truth that our children are a product of mother's thoughts and an absent daddy. That's part of it too. Because whatever that mother was thinking about that daddy going into that child, you come out into this world and everything that's been put into you about that man is negative. How bad he is. He ain't shit. This nigga that, this nigga that. So your first introduction to him, regardless of what age you are, it can't be positive. You started off on the wrong foot. Sometimes we don't think about these things. This is real, y'all. It's real. And that's why the process of us resurrecting ourselves, which is the primary focus of the Nation of Islam. So anybody that thinks that members of the Nation of Islam need to be out here boycotting with y'all, hell no. Nah. If you think that we need to pick up guns, hell no. Nah. Once we build some stuff, we might pick up guns to protect that, because we ain't gonna let nobody come and destroy what we build. But no, whatever you do in your organization, you do that. The Nation of Islam is into resurrecting Black people's minds.
Yes.
And we're talking today about some of the processes that we don't even take in consideration. We have to resurrect Black people's minds. And you ain't got to go boycott no damn white folks. I don't give a damn about boycotting no white folks. I don't want what you got anyway.
Okay.
I want to co-join myself with Black people who make our own. We're going to produce a healing center. It's going to be unmatched. I don't give a damn where you go, wherever you go to learn. You ain't going to be doing what we doing here, because this is led by God himself.
Yes.
Some of the things that we got to think about.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, praise be to Allah. This is so deep. Oh my gosh. I'm so, like I said again, I'm so glad we are talking about this. It's just so important that our women know the importance of actually how to birth for God. I actually have the book as well, and I actually listened to the lectures. A lot of that you said as well, just the environment that a pregnant woman is in, the things that the woman even goes through, and how to actually prepare herself for pregnancy and birth is so important. Yes. On how your child is conditioned when he or she comes out of the womb. So when we start thinking of, and like you said, get into the mind of God as to why it's so important to really check in within yourself, getting to know yourself, and also being able to be healthy, and just obtaining just certain knowledge, so you're able to give your child the best that you can give your child.
That's right.
Because it's so important. And that's why I said that, they used to tell me generational wealth is what, money. I thought that was at that point in time. But no, generational wealth to me is us actually healing from the trauma that we've been through, so we don't bring in children that is a product of our environment based off the trauma and stuff that we've been through in our life. Because if we continue to not heal ourselves, we'll continue to bleed on the children that comes up after us continuously. So like I said, this is such a beautiful topic. I'm so glad to have you on the show. And I do have one more question before we end the show. I think this is going to end it off and be a good question. What advice would you give a woman that is pregnant or would soon like to be pregnant about making the proper decisions when it comes to, I want to say, health, and also the proper decision on birthing? A proper decision on giving birth.
That's a good question. I would say the most important suggestion I can make to any woman is to associate yourself with the Nation of Islam. I didn't say join. I said associate yourself. Find a study group, find a mosque, and tap in with one of the sisters so that you could, I don't know the answer. So that's why I'm saying that you have to tap into them and ask them if you can have access to their class. I have been married twice. I have nothing negative to say about my first wife, but my first wife cannot compare to my second wife, Tawana Muhammad, because my second wife, Tawana Muhammad, had been in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's MGT and GCC class for 20 plus years when I met her. I didn't understand who she was. I didn't understand what she had been gifted in that class. Mother Khadijah, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's wife, told her when she first met her in the 90s, she said, Mother Khadijah, what do you think I should do to be better with my husband? Mother Khadijah said, go to your class. She said, yeah, I understand that, but I'm having trouble with my husband and we're fighting on this and that. She said, go to your class. And then my wife asked her a third time. She said, yeah, I understand that, but I really want to be da 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 da. She said, go to your class. She told her 3 times, go to your class. My wife is a staunch supporter of the MGT and GCC class because it made her into the woman that can handle me. Ooh. I think you all can see that just in my response. You can tell that I'm fiery. I'm passionate, but it's all based in something. I'm not crazy passionate. I'm not crazy emotional, but I love my people and I love Black women. That's why you see this passion coming out of it. But she can handle no matter what, because I'm crazy, stupid, and silly sometimes. She can handle it, and she can handle my good side too. But my point is that class will give you keys to being a good mother. It will give you keys to taking care of yourself while you are thinking about being pregnant, on your way to getting married, and on your way to getting pregnant. Mm-hmm. So that would be my first suggestion. Associate yourself with what Dr. Akilli would assess and come to the conclusion is the best place for any Black woman's mind to get molded in the right direction. Yeah, you need to be brainwashed, if that's what you're going to call it, because all that white supremacy needs to be washed out of our brains so we can become who we naturally need to be. That's number one. Number two would be go to either NOI.org or YouTube and find the minister's lectures on how to give birth to a God. I promise you, I don't give a damn who the person's name is, how popular they are, how many views they got on social media. The minister gives the superior information on how you as a Black woman can grow to love yourself and then grow a baby inside of you to be a God that's going to go out here and change this world. First 2 examples. My third suggestion would be tap in with blackstream.live/TUWG. I've done many programs on this subject. I do programs with other midwives, but in my personal viewpoint, I went through a 10-part Heal series where we looked at all these different medical documentaries that are out in the public. I haven't done them all, but I've done the 10 that I thought were the most relevant and the ones that were the best. I did a critique of all those to try to explain to people from the perspective of how to live, how all of these things are telling some truth, but most of it is mixed up with lies and falsehood and money-oriented propaganda. So I did a 10-part series on that. And Sister Taylor X, who I would also suggest any future mother to follow her on social media, because she does daily posts on like making your own soap, making your own toothpaste, little things to think about how to take care of yourself as a woman, just in general. Because having an idea in your mind of having a beautiful, powerful, superior child doesn't start when you lay down in the bed. It starts by how you take care of yourself. And then you'll instill most of that just by your example. And so I think it's important for us to understand value, because I have many people that come to me and say, hey, man, maybe you should drop your prices. Hell no. I believe that what I'm giving to the public is worth it.
Yes. I
did it for years for free. So there's still a lot of free stuff out there. I ain't going to tell you where it is because I'm promoting what costs. But I believe it. I believe it's worth every penny you will spend to be able to hear these type of things and then maybe suggest it to other people that you know. And then I'm always available for you to give me feedback. If you don't like something I say, let's have a discussion. If you disagree with something I say and you one of them type people, we can go do a live about it. My point is never to get into no argument, never get in a back and forth with a person. My point is always to make sure that Black people are being open
Yes.
to understanding what is right and what is wrong. Because I would say easily 80 to 90% of the health posts on IG, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube are absolute garbage. 80 to 90% is either garbage or it's truth mixed up with falsehood, or it's only propaganda because they want to sell you something. You can't trust that. But go back and check me. Go back and check my years on YouTube. How many times did you see me trying to sell something? I was offering information to empower people. But now I want to make as much money as I can because I am going to produce that healing center I'm telling you about. And if a Black woman ever walks into that healing center, you will not get mistreated. I promise you that. Because I'm going to be the one that's going to set the environment of this place.
Yes.
And if a person walks in the house, walks in the room, walks into an office, walks on a Zoom with Brother Dr. Akilli, I'm always going to do my best to give you the utmost respect and do the best I can to listen so that I can help you in the best way. Now, if you ugly, ignorant, and disrespectful to me, I can't tell you what's going to come back. I'm going to try to do the best I can to stay a Muslim, but I'm going to always do the best I can to be a Muslim. And I believe my shows are giving the type of information that could help the Black community change and become more healthy when it is associated to the Black woman. And then all of these problems that she is having, bringing children into the world, I believe will go away with the knowledge. So those would be my 3 suggestions. And I think the last one would be, again, I'm not suggesting that anybody has to become a member of Nation of Islam. It's not a bad idea, but I just don't promote what it is that changed my life like that. I believe that being an example and speaking about how it improved my life puts you in a land of decision. But every Black person, especially Black women, have to learn how to think better of themselves. We have been destroyed, demeaned, and belittled by a white supremacist society that makes us think lesser of ourselves, that make us look in the mirror and be like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
And that should not be our reality. We should be able to look in the mirror and say, that brother right there, that sister right there, yeah, that person got it. That person lit. Now I got some work to do. I ain't perfect, but I'm on the way because I got some information that made me know who I am. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan tells us the most 2 profound knowledges is the knowledge of God and the knowledge of self. And as you understand those 2, you understand the other. Because God is a man. As difficult as that may be for somebody to grasp, it was difficult for me to grasp. But God being a man automatically makes you stop looking in the mirror and thinking that dog and nigga and homie and partner, bitch and hoe, slut, prostitute. It'll stop making all those words even connect with you.
Yes.
Yeah, that might be my activity at one time in my life, but that ain't me. That might be what somebody made me, but that ain't me. Now that I'm learning who I am, now that I'm learning my true lineage, now that I know that I can tap into my DNA and it's directly connected to the original God that made all of this that we look at, that start making you look at yourself a little different.
Yes.
Because I'm not perfect, but I'm on the way to being as perfect as I can possibly be. And I'm trying to destroy and rid myself of all of my shortcomings, which God don't care nothing about. God cares about your good side. Yes. God cares about your gift. God cares about your talent. And God cares about putting you in an environment that's going to grow that so you can go out into this world and change it for the better. Period. I don't care who you are, what you think about yourself, and whether you think that you have something to give or not. You do. Just tap in with yourself a little bit. Stop spending so much time looking at stuff that takes your mind somewhere else. Yes. Movies, social media, watching other people do things that you think are great. Hell, every single Black woman on the planet that can sing can do what Beyonce does if you put it into work. Every Black man and every Black woman could be a good speaker if you put the time in. So when you see somebody else doing something that ain't something that you can't do, you don't know the work that went behind that.
Yes.
See, a lot of people hear me talk, but they don't know the years of study that I put behind these subject matters. You don't know how many thousands of people I've seen in my career. It's been thousands. Probably, I was thinking about it not too long ago. I'm probably in excess of 20,000 people that I've interacted with in my career. That's a lot of people to learn from. That's a lot of people to listen. That's a lot of people that you have to help sometimes think through a process and then offer information. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of practice. So when I sit and I talk, it's not because I just started last week. So really, I know all of my suggestions are surrounding the Nation of Islam. That's because every time Brother Dr. Akilli finds something in his life that he thinks is good, I can't hold it to myself. The Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan made me a better doctor, a better husband, better father, better brother, better black man, a better person in general. And no day do I wake up and look in the mirror and appreciate who I am I satisfied. I will not be comfortable until black people are free and we're running things. I pray I live that long. And if I don't, I'll die unsatisfied. Pray I answered the question. Blackstream.live/TUWG. Check me out.
Yes, sir.
Y'all can actually go there and watch some stuff for free just to check it out. And then if you think it's good enough, then come on back and support with a subscription. Please.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you guys. When I say, like I said, I was binge watching this man even before I got pregnant. But when I was pregnant, oh my gosh. So when I was going through the things I was going through with my thyroid, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to him. And yes, I swear you are an angel from a lie. Like you really, really, really helped me in my healing journey. When I think about my healing journey, like I said, I think about you. So definitely, you guys tap in with my brother.
Hey, I pray I didn't offend anybody in my passion. If I did, I apologize for offending you. I will never apologize for telling the truth. But if I said it in a way that came across maybe a little abrasive, that's indicative of my love for my sisters. Inshallah.
Yeah. Sometimes I just think that, truth hurts. So sometimes it may come off a little, but we need to hear it.
Yeah, I do have a statement. If the truth hurts, then feel the damn pain. But I didn't mean to call you no pain.
Yes. Praise be to Allah, Dr. Akilli. Thank you so much for joining me today to discuss this well-needed topic, Black women in a medical apartheid system in America. I would also like to thank my amazing audience and healing tribe for joining us today. I pray that this episode was informative, valuable, and healing to you all. Also, be sure to share, like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes on any of your favorite podcast stations. Closing the Gap broadcast on Facebook and CTG broadcast on YouTube, and Healing with Angelica's podcast on Facebook and YouTube to help spread this message of healing like wildfire to those in need of healing. Also, if you are ready to start your healing journey and don't know where to start, Healing with Angelica is here for you, as I am offering a 1-hour consultation call to help get you started on your journey. More information to book will be shown on the screen below and also in the description box. Healing with Angelica merch is now out, including ebooks. And I will also include additional information for today's special guest, Dr. Akilli Muhammad, so you guys can tap in with my brother as well. And also, there is more. I cannot leave this out. So before we end today's show, I would like to give a special recognition to those that have contributed to making Healing with Angelica what it is today and more. So special recognition to Brenda Muhammad, Kamal Muhammad. I have David X, Mark Muhammad, Kurtisha Muhammad, Asia X, Mike Stanley, Sean Scott, Demetrius, and Andrea Muhammad. I just want to say you guys are appreciated. Our praises due to
High five
Allah.
emoji. High five emoji.
Yes, yes, yes. And Dr. Akilli, I know you kind of we had the last question, but before we end, and maybe we need you to reiterate where people can locate you and find you at. Before we end the show completely, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today?
No, I think your questions brought out all the passionate, I would say the passionate information, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that I have spent the last 28 years gathering. Um, I would only say, down at the bottom, you see my IG and you see my website. You can find all of my stuff through there. But blackstream.live, it's a black owned streaming service. So anybody that is streaming, consider them, tap in with them, at least have a conversation, because what I know for sure is that many of, I would say, I'm at probably 10 to 12 videos that have been taken off of YouTube. I know for sure that I'm shadow banned on IG and Facebook. Every time I get close to the ability.
Uh-oh. Dr. Akilli?
Tap in with me on blackstream.live, and also consider them for your streaming needs. That's the reason why I'm on Blackstream, because I refuse to continue to put my content on other sites that don't respect me, respect my mind, and don't respect where I'm getting my information from. So I don't choose to continue to allow people to benefit off of me, because that's what they're doing. All of these places on social media are benefiting from you, and they're suppressing the ideas that will help our people. Mm-hmm. And they're promoting the stuff that keeps us in a stupidity mind frame. I'm not knocking any of my black people out there that are doing things that I call stupid. At the end of the day, I was young. I did a lot of stupid things in my life. But when it comes to the raising of our people, we have to raise our thought processes and raise the things that we're doing to a different level of functioning. And so that's why I choose not to be on free platforms anymore, because, it just doesn't make any sense for me to put myself through that. So that's why I'm on blackstream.live. But again, I believe that whatever your desire to support us, it would be worth it, because I must continue to strive hard to give you quality information. And every time I leave your presence, I pray that you got news that you can use. And I pray that you understand that you have to work hard for good health in a type of world that we live in. Ooh. So thank you again, my sister. I appreciate you. And it's always an honor to be on a show. It's always an honor to share with people, right? My focus is always black people, because we're in the worst condition. But any person, any color, nationality, ethnicity, race, a person that could learn and raise their level of existence based on something that I say, I'm all thankful to the God that changed me and gave me a journey that I could become that for you. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praises is due to Allah, Dr. Akilli. Thank you again for joining us today. And also thank my amazing audience in Healing Tribe. And we leave you all as we came. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, healing, and light.
Wa alaikum salam.